Hello everyone, good morning. I have come up with Indian economy current affairs. It was actually there in a Hindu newspaper on 15th November. This is relevant to civil services examination mains. It will definitely help you, and in fact, even in prelims exam, you can expect this question. So I just want to highlight on something called the news was like this. SEBI planned to amend listing norms. If you could see this news carefully, SEBI has decided to make it mandatory for all the companies to disclose the information to a newly formed organization that is called Information Utility. I'm telling you, this is a completely new concept for everybody in the Indian economy. So I want you to all, to have a basic information about this. So the news goes like this: SEBI has made it mandatory that all the companies are supposed to disclose the information. If you could see here, related to debt. In other words, loans borrowed, loans cleared, or any default or any financial interest of the companies, which is basically going to be useful for lenders. There are two things here. Basically, you need to understand. Number one, this debt related information of the company is generally useful to whom? It is obviously useful to financial institutions and lending institutions, in other words, which would really want to know exactly what is the status of the company when it comes to financial credit worthiness. And what happens, suppose if this information is not known to them? Obviously, they'll end up losing money because they lent money, and later on, company declared that company is in bankruptcy or company is bankrupt, and they will apply for insolvency. So it has become a very difficult issue for a government financial institutions. So if you could see latest. Uh, big scams and scandals are taking place with respect to borrowing thousands of crores and not repaying money. It could be anybody. You must have seen in the newspapers recently with respect to certain organizations, right? So therefore, SEBI has made it very clear, if a company wants to get listed in any stock exchange, one of the very important norm is that you have to disclose your debt related information and loans related, defaults related information to information utility, which is newly formed. So if you could see here, the provide information newly formed central database to information utility. This information utility is going to be set up under the guidelines of IBBI, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. So what basically it happens, so information utility will store information, will maintain information, will collect the information, will fetch information, will deposit the information, and this information is going to be useful both for lenders as well as borrowers. And this has been made mandatory. SEBI chairman um, Ajay Tyagi has made it very clear this is going to work. So let's now look at, my objective is here to tell you exactly what is this information utility, how does it work, etc., etc. Look at this, the history. National E-Governance Service Limited, in a small form you can call it as NESL, became India's first information utility for all bankruptcy cases. A company declares that it is bankrupt and it will apply for insolvency so that it will have a relief in terms of clearing debts for some point of time, right? So there's every, why don't you think in this way, there's every possibility companies will try to escape repaying debts, and companies will try to play the what you call magic or a game with the financial institutions, and they will just declare that they are bankrupt, and the information what they have shown might not be true. So these are all the problems. So bankruptcy cases will increase, and companies, lenders will not be able to recover these loans because of these things. So under bankruptcy rules regulations, SEBI has made it very clear recently that every company, it is mandatory for a company to get listed in any stock exchange. It has to disclose the information which is relevant to debt, defaults, so on and so forth. So if you could see, NESL is owned by State Bank of India and LIC, and the recently Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India has removed certain restrictions on any organization which would want to get registered as Information Utility Center. The next thing, what is an information utility? As I told you, it procures information, it maintains information, it provides information to businesses, financial institutions, Adjudicating authority, the authority who will declare companies as insolvent, or insolvency professional like chartered accountants and company secretaries who are handling these cases. So this is going to be very helpful for them to justify whether this company which has applied for insolvency is correct or incorrect. Clear? Why is it important? How useful is it? So I told you, first of all, regarding debts and defaults of various companies, we need an authenticated information. So this is going to give you perfect information because it's mandatory for companies to disclose this information as per SEBI. So obviously, they can't disclose information which is not truthful. They will be fair because it has come from SEBI. And the storage of financial information in a very registered way, it would help lenders, credit transactions to track. And it is nothing but, I mean to say, the information which is there in information utility, which is supplied by companies regarding their debts, regarding their loans, regarding their defaults, etc., etc., can be used as an evidence at the time of bankruptcy cases in the front of National Company Law Tribunal. So overall, this slide I want to sum up. The basic objective of this is to provide authenticated information to financial institutions or law boards, experts, so on and so forth. What are the rules governing these utilities? Rules, very simple. These utility information, information utilities are going to be governed by IBBI, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. It will monitor, oversees registration, cancellation, and will ensure that this functioning of information utilities are completely under the ambit of IBBI. If you look at the stakeholding, stock exchanges, the Indian firms, the companies which are listed on stock exchange can hold up to 100% in such firms, and a particular individual can have up to 51% for a period of 3 years, right? So this is the structure, how it happens exactly. How will the utilities help stakeholders in the insolvency process? So financial creditors, it will help them because they will have a proper information. The next thing is, it is mandatory for financial creditors to provide information to information utility, which means what? Every firm will be providing the information related to what loans they borrowed, what loans they have cleared, what loans they have not cleared, what about the default, how much money they borrowed, from where they borrowed, what was any legal litigation, any cases pending, so on and so forth. So this information is going to help people in different. One is financial creditors and operational creditors. If you could see operational creditors, um, suppliers of goods and services, these guys would want to know whether, because one fine day company declares that we don't have money, we are bankrupt, then supplier who supplied goods on credit is going to be affected. Then how will you ensure safety for the creditors who are lending money? And so see, simply for small reasons also they can declare that they're bankrupt, and they just, sometimes it so happens willful defaulting of loans might take place. So in that case, what do you do? So this information is going to be used as an evidence when it comes to handling such bankruptcy insolvency cases. So once again I repeat, information utility is a body which is going to be registered, licensed, operated under IBBI, and this will store information of all the companies and firms, which all the firms and all entities, in other words we can say, about their information related to debt, defaulting, etc., etc. What are the key challenges of these utilities? Obviously, the responsibilities on financial creditors. People are complaining nowadays that this is going to leak out the sensitive information. So there is a possibility companies might resist. So unless and until there is a legal authority, uh, which is insisting on companies that you have to disclose this, because we don't want to put the stakeholders at risky position, that is creditors, in other words lenders and suppliers and all the other people who have provided services to company, and later on company has declared itself as a bankrupt, and they will go for an insolvency, and the insolvency case goes on in the court, and at that point of time, what is the proof? The background financial information would definitely help us, no, to handle these issues. So it's a digital database, so there is a possibility of data theft, etc. So some companies are though complaining, but this is going to be useful for all the stakeholders and government to handle any issues. So I want to sum up with this current affairs, that is, SEBI has recently notified very clearly that all the companies have to disclose their financial information related, not general financial information related to debt, defaults, etc., to a body called information utility. Then I said information utility, that is, we have one organization called National E-Governance Services Limited. This is fully registered under this. And the next we have, what is this information utility? This is a body which will procure, which will maintain, which will supply financial information which is relevant to debt to all the businesses, financial institutions, insolvent authorities, so that they will use this information and handle these cases. Then I said, what is it important? Obviously, I said, when you have the information related to debts and defaults of every firm, every entity, it's very easy to take a decision, which is so, a cautious decision can be taken because you have the relevant information. And this information which company has disclosed about the debts, all of a sudden when the company declares that they are insolvent, so this can be used as an evidence. The next thing is, governing rules are always IBBI in this case. So the overall monitoring, administration, everything is going to be taken care by um, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Then how will the utilities help stakeholders? Yes, we have got two kinds of, like, the people who have sold goods on credit, the people who have lent money. These two guys can use this information as an authenticated information if in case companies declared that they're bankrupt, or whether we can easily find out whether they're willful defaulters or generic defaulters, so on and so forth. Then challenges ahead. There is a possibility that the information which is being leaked out, which is given by companies, is a very sensitive information. So companies might resist. So we need to have a legal authority to insist on companies to disclose. So obviously, SEBI is the right authority. It's a regulating body of stock exchanges. So therefore, capital market improvement and this administration can be easily carried on because SEBI is behind this. I hope you understood. This is about information utilities to which companies have to disclose the information related to debt and defaults to information utility. So this is going to be used by experts or courts or financial institutions when company absurdly declare that they are bankrupt or insolvent. This is just a basic information, and this could be used for civil services mains and prelims examination. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.